It's a special day. We have a whole series of special days in the past few weeks. But the Purnima day is today. Yes? Yes? In the month of Bhadra. So today, at temples all over the world, Hare Krishna temples all over the world, we'll be celebrating Bhadra Purnima. And there's something very, very special about Bhadra Purnima described in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, where 12th canto, towards the end of the entire Bhagavatam, which says there's glorification and glorification and glorification of the Bhagavatam itself, and then there's a statement that says, on this Bhadra Purnima, if someone makes a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, small qualifier, on a golden throne. How are you going to get a golden throne? On a golden throne, that person is going to be freed from their material existence, the giver, and certainly also the receiver. So it's a special day. I'm sure you all know already, just repeating because it is a special day. So there's been an attempt worldwide to maximize the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam worldwide. And in parts of the world where there's difficulty, like there are oppressive governments here and there, and oppressive governments don't want, communist oppressive governments don't want religion, because Lenin said religion is the opiate of the people, so he kick out the opium, kick out religion. So they're following Lenin. But still, the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam is going on vigorously in those places. They have ways of doing. And, in other parts of the world, that same constraint is not there. And our previous acharyas, certainly our founder acharya, and prior to him, and prior to him, and prior to him, very, very pleased to see the large-scale distribution of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then comes the nice task of helping people enter into the message of Bhagavatam, like classes in the Bhagavatam, and reading groups on the Bhagavatam, and seminars on the Bhagavatam, and etc., to receive this wonderful gift within, received from within. So I want, for some number of days, I've been giving morning class in the Naperville Temple, and the topic that we've been speaking about is Canto 1, Chapter 2. So I'm going to give a little background about Canto 1, Chapter 2, and how it fits in with the rest of the Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, the scene is Naimisharanya. And in Naimisharanya, there's a group of sages who were planning, because they knew that the age of Kali had begun, to do something to minimize or reduce the influence of the age of Kali, because the age of Kali, by the Bhagavatam description, is true. This and that and the other. And so, Kalir Doshanat Hey Rajan, there's some cure. There's one Mahagunan, good cure, that's this Srimad Bhagavatam. So they had planned to perform 1,000 years of sacrifices, karmakanda, yagyas, And as soon as one is done, the next one begins, and as soon as that one is done, the next one begins, and there are a whole assembly of brahmanas. And to do that one after the next for 1,000 years, that's a big commitment. Probably several generations to cover that. But that was their plan in Naimisharanya. And lo and behold, in their midst, they saw Sutta Goswami. And Sutta Goswami happened to have just heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam spoken to Maharaj Parikshit by Sukadeva Goswami. So it's the cusp, the sandhi, the in-between period between the previous yuga and the current yuga. And the symptoms of the current yuga were already showing. And so Sukadeva Goswami, having spoken the Bhagavatam, he, in the audience was Sutta. There's nice, the history is nice. Sutta was the son of Romaharshan Sutta. Who's Romaharshan Sutta? Romaharshan Sutta was a direct disciple of Vyasadeva. And when Vyasadeva divided the Vedas into 4, he entrusted one of those 4 principal Vedas with this disciple, that disciple, another disciple. And then when he came to the Smriti section, he entrusted the Puranas to Romaharshan Sutta. And Sutta Goswami was his son. So Sutta Goswami was already very, very qualified, being the son of the disciple of Vyasadeva, who was entrusted completely with all the Puranas. So then his son was qualified. And his son just happened to be in the audience hearing Shukadeva Goswami describe Srimad Bhagavatam. So when Sutta came in the midst of these sages of Naimisharanya, they stopped their yajna. And immediately they honored Sutta, gave him a special seat and said, "Can you explain what you've heard?" A retelling, so it's not verbatim, but it's Sutta Goswami's retelling of what he heard. Shukadeva Goswami narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. So the text of the Bhagavatam goes back and forth a bit between Sutta Goswami said and Shukadeva Goswami said, because Sutta is repeating what he heard. And in those ages, they didn't need tape recorders or any kind of recording system. They just had good memories. And that's one of the symptoms of the age of Kali, if you haven't noticed. Many things diminish, and memory is one of the many things. So he just heard it, and he just was able to repeat it perfectly. And so that's the Srimad Bhagavatam. And now, in Canto 1, the sages have received him. The glories of the Bhagavatam itself are cited. And then they begin their questions. And they have 6 questions listed in Canto 1. And so Canto 2 is a response to one of those 6 questions. You want to guess what that question was that he's summarizing? The question was, you've heard the range of all the Vedas from your father and from this description. Could you summarize, please, the essence of all the revealed scriptures? Thank you very much. That's chapter 2. That's the historical context. And then the content is Sutta summarized, because the essence is bhakti. There's so many, but the essence is bhakti. Those so many leads to bhakti. So the essence is bhakti. So he doesn't go into the Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda section of the Vedas. He just deals with the the conclusion, because the conclusion of both is to come to the position of Mamekam Sharanam, or taking full shelter of the personality of Godhead. So he describes in Canto 1, Chapter 2, this a little mini summary of bhakti. And then, rightly so, the rest of the Bhagavatam expands on Canto 1, Chapter 2. That is to say, it's like you wiggle something over, you're engineers, many of you. You wiggle something over here and something over there wiggles. This is the cause, and that's the effect. So you understand the cause, and then it's going to be later in the effect. So the Bhagavatam has its Purana, this history. So this principle establishes this event. That principle establishes that event. And they're spoken in different ways, which is very nice. There's the poetry of the Bhagavatam that makes it sweet, because for many reasons. One of the big reasons is the speaker is Shukadeva Goswami. There's a nice lengthy, so make it lengthy short. Vyasadeva, having received, this is Canto 1, Chapter 5. Vyasadeva, and then again Chapter 7, Canto 1, Chapter 7. Vyasadeva received instructions from Narada how to feel satisfied. Because Narada, Vyas, I'm going to recite a verse in just a minute. This is just background about the Bhagavatam, Bhadra Purnima. Vyas was a contemporary of Krishna. Yes? Yes. And Krishna departed. And Vyas knew what that means. What it means is, shortly after Krishna departs, the next yuga begins. And you look, he had capacity to completely understand past, present, and future. I mean, we can't understand the moment, but to speak of everything, everywhere, present. And then, so Vyas had that capacity. He's an incarnation, a Shakti Vaishavatar. So he has qualification. He looked into the future and he saw, yikes. So the same as what the sages did, they wanted to do a yajna, and Vyasadeva wanted to do what he knew to do, because he was a literary person. So he decided to take the Vedas, knowing that people in the age of Kali will have short memory, and then write it so that people can read it, because it helps to retain what you've heard as you see it, and you can see it again and see it again. And so he compiled the Vedas out of compassion for the upcoming us, people in the age of Kali. They'll have short memories and not able to understand things so well also. And he felt, the history, he felt after all of that, then he summarized all of that in the Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra. Then he did what most people do when they complete a big task. Supposing you cook the Sunday feast. You step back and how did it come out? Or you dress the deity and you step back and how did it come out? So he stepped back and how did it come out? And he wasn't satisfied. He's honest. Most of us are not satisfied, but we're not honest. He was honest, and he felt this pinch in his heart. Something's missing. He was disturbed, like, did I do something wrong? And, his Narada Muni who has this capacity that he just knows what to do, show up at the right place at the right time and say all the right things. So Narada Muni came zooming in, playing his veena, and Vyas, you don't look so good. What's wrong? He said, I don't know. But I think you know. Can you tell me what's wrong? And he tells him, this is, I'm saying in simple language, Canto 1, Chapter 7. And he said, you haven't sufficiently glorified the Supreme Person and his qualities and his activities and his loving service. You haven't sufficiently done that. And so my instruction, if you want to feel satisfied, then sit in trance. I'm going to leave now, but you can sit in trance, and what you experience in that trance of meditation upon the Supreme Person, let that be an additional composition, a Purana that has 100% focus on the personality of Godhead. And so he sat in trance. Those verses, they're very important verses. Now some of you are going to be receiving Srimad Bhagavatam today. So make note, Canto 1, Chapter 7, verses something like 4 through 7. And it summarizes what his experience was. And that's an essence of the Bhagavatam, which is expanded into the rest of the Bhagavatam, because that was his realization. And then he composed what his realization was. Okay. So now we just touched on, the Bhagavatam, and it particularly, because I'm going to read a verse shortly from Canto 1, Chapter 2, and then summarize what some of the other verses were before this verse. And because you're all very scholarly people, if I say the verse, you can repeat it after me, right? But it's really simple, and I'll go slowly. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm going to read Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 9. So those of you, everyone has a cell phone or 2 or 3. You can look it up while we're sitting here, if you have one. Vedabase.com. Yes? Vedabase.com. And then Bhagavatam 1, 2, 9. But while you're looking it up, I'm going to just explain some words in the verse. There's a word in the verse, apavarga. Apavarga. The syllable in front, it negates the rest. Pavarga and apavarga. So those people that are interested in progressive material enjoyment, that's the path of pavarga. And apavarga is the path of diminishing material involvement up to the point of not material involvement, but full spiritual involvement, even in this place, even in the temporary place. So Dharma, this is I'm going through the first line because you all don't have your page yet. Dharmasya hi apavargasya. You all know the word Dharma. Prabhupada, going back several verses, he has translated the word Dharma as occupational engagement or occupational service. What you do, the occupation, that's your Dharma. So Dharmasya he means certainly, apavarga, all your activities, all one's activities. This is sutta to the sages. This for us. All your activities are meant for apavarga, transcendental liberation, ultimate liberation. That's how it's been translated here. Then there's the negative, na artha. There shouldn't be the artha, the objective of narto tayopakalpate, not for material gain. No, it's an expansion on the idea of karma yoga from Bhagavad Gita. It's a nice way to appreciate Bhagavatam. One of the nice ways to appreciate Bhagavatam is a graduate study of the undergraduate study. Bhagavad Gita being the undergraduate study. So Karma Yoga is, a well-known verse. You're entitled to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the results of your prescribed duty. Karma eva dikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Celebrated verse. You're entitled to your prescribed duty. You're not entitled to the fruit that comes from that prescribed duty. You're supposed to do something with that fruit, but it's not meant for your enjoyment. It's meant for ultimate liberation. Prescribed duties meant for ultimate liberation. That's the Bhagavad Gita. Now it's amplified here in the Bhagavatam. Nartasya dharma kantasya. Na, again, it's negative. Nartasya dharma kantasya. And one who's engaged in that way, kamo labhaya hismritaha. It's kama, sense enjoyment. Labhaya, labha, to attain. So when there is some object out there that comes from the fruits of your labor, don't reach for it to be the enjoyer of it. The sense enjoyment of the sense object. So it's saying the same thing. So if it's what's ultimate liberation is, it's a mature stage of karma yoga is bhakti. I'll say it again. A mature stage of karma yoga is bhakti. Question. What's the difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga? Or are they the same? There's no difference at all. Obviously there's two terms, so there's got to be some difference. What's the difference? And a big difference is, what's the purpose? The intention. So karma yoga is a path of liberation. I'm in the world, and I'm engaging dutifully within this world, but I want detachment from bondage. I want moksha. So I work, but I'm not attached to the fruits, and I offer the fruit to the Supreme. So the fruit goes to the Supreme. That's nice. But what's my intention? Moksha. I don't want bondage. Thank you. There's karma and there's karma yoga. The karma yogas work without bondage because the fruit goes to the Supreme, and I'm not reaching for the fruit to be the enjoyer of the fruit. It all goes to the Supreme. And that now bhakti is not again the distinction is intention. The intention of bhakti is not I don't want bondage. The intention of bhakti is the personality of Godhead should be pleased. It's not about me, it's about the pleasure of the personality of Godhead. That's bhakti. And in the very mature stage of bhakti is priti, loving affection. There must be some loving affection in the beginning, but when it becomes matured, it's prema bhakti or priti, just like Rupa Goswami or Jiva Goswami has described it as priti sandarbhas. It's a mature stage of bhakti. So the distinction is the intention or the purpose behind. I'll say it one more time, a little bit differently. In order for karma yoga to be at all successful, there must be at least a pinch or a strain or something in that fabric there is for the Supreme. Otherwise, it's not karma yoga. It's not karma yoga. It's a behavior, but it's not karma yoga. Making the offerings under the Supreme is a sacrifice to the Supreme. So there's some pinch, at least, of bhakti. Or it's not going to be successful. Then as it matures and matures and matures, through good association, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, just like this verse here, then one can come to the stage of bhakti. Because remember, the question of the 6 questions, please summarize the essence of all the Vedas. So here's one of the steps in that ladder of expressing the essence. So now we're going to go to the verse, and I'll say it slowly. And those of you that have your phone out, you can recite after me. Dharmasya hyapavargasya narto tayo pakalpate nartasya dharmakantasya amolabhaya hi smritaha. Pretty good. So then one more time. Dharmasya hyapavargasya narto tayo pakalpate nartasya dharmakantasya kamolabhaya hi smritaha. Translation: all occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. I've been visiting many colleges, and the college kids that are doing their studies, they're not thinking ultimate liberation. I'm doing well in my studies, so I can graduate and get a job and get some money. And I can, do what you do with money. And that's why I'm doing my studies. And that's why I do the work, and that's why I do the et cetera, et cetera. So it's quite distinct, the Bhagavatam message. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So you better put something else in that space, because otherwise it's going to fill up with, the routine. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. We have already discussed that pure devotional service to the Lord is automatically followed by perfect knowledge and detachment from material existence. But there are others who consider that all kinds of different occupational engagement, including those of religion, are meant for material gain. Like, you go to heaven, or at least in this life you prosper. Material gain. Do your duty. You get back. It's a good investment. Guaranteed investment. Better than any stocks or bonds or anything else. This perfect security, the supreme security. The general tendency of any ordinary man in any part of the world is to gain some material profit in exchange for religious or any other occupational service. Even in the Vedic literatures, for all sorts of religious performances, an allurement of material gain is offered. And most people are attracted by such allurements or blessings of religiosity. Why are such so-called men of religion allured by material gain? Because material gain can enable one to fulfill desires, which in turn satisfies sense gratification. This cycle of occupational engagements includes so-called religiosity, followed by material gain, and material gain followed by the fulfillment of desires. Sense gratification is the general way for all sorts of fully occupied men. But in the statement of Sutta Goswami, as per the verdict of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is nullified by the present sloka. Paragraph. One should not engage himself in any sort of occupational service for material gain only, nor should material gain be utilized for sense gratification. How material gain should be utilized is described as follows. So I'm sure you're all in suspense. Not this and not this and not this. What goes in that space? You know, the principle is bhakti. That is, anukalyena Krishna anushilanam. The happiness of the personality of Godhead is how material production is to be utilized. Is it possible? Seems really high. I mean, if you think about what's being said, it sounds pretty high. So it works. Two things. It works if you have a clear sense of why. And if the unclear sense of why is, this is a cuckoo place, I want out of here. I don't want to take birth again in the cuckoo land. I want out, thank you. I don't want bondage of fruit of activity, thank you. So that's not bhakti. I mean, it's not Shuddha Bhakti, that's for sure. And no, the Bhagavatam is teaching Shuddha Bhakti, like get-go, right in chapter 2. As soon as the questions are given, the answers are given, that's the platform. So then what's coming up is really important. If it's not this and not this and not this, what's this? What is it? How are any of us, it's not just householders, it's any of us that live in the world. How are we to engage ourselves in such a way that whatever gain comes, it's not for me? And how do you do that? What's it look like? It's going to look differently because we're all different. But there's a principle behind those differences, and that's what's coming up. So just see how important it is, the Bhagavatam. Supposing you don't have the kind of wisdom, you're not receiving in your life the kind of wisdom that the Bhagavatam offers. What's the default? It's right here. It's true. I mean, think about it. You're because of your upbringing, you're more familiar with, the Indian traditional ways of doing things. But the Indian traditional ways of doing things have their features in other cultures, other religions, other activities. And it's bondage. It's, paint it this way and cloak it that way and dress it that way. It's sense gratification in this and the next life. If there's a sense of the next life. If then generally there's a sense of, the next life is the good place, right? Heaven. Swarga. And they're different, according to different cultures and different scriptures and different teachings. And whatever it may be. That Shuddha Bhakti isn't, so supposing you don't have this knowledge, that's the best you're going to do. Prosper in this life and go to the good place after this life. Amen. And then around and around and around. After enjoying, then falling and coming again to this place. And is there an alternative? Yes. And that Bhagavatam is giving that alternative. And so it's important to people not only have a Bhagavatam set in your home, but you receive its message and it goes in and you live your life according to the Bhagavatam's teachings. Punar Janma Na. From this one lifetime, properly guided and properly directed. Going back to Vyasadev's dissatisfaction and some statements that are here in this verse, a vast part of the Vedas includes Karmakanda rituals. A smaller portion of the Vedas is the Gyanakanda portion, and a smaller portion is the Bhakti portion. Now, the Bhakti portion is throughout, but you have to be an expert miner to find the gold in the gold mine. It's there, but it's not open. In the Bhagavatam, it's open. That was the mandate of Narada to Vyasa, and that's what the Bhagavatam does. And it's easy to be, if your light's on, meaning if you understand that the futility of what real happiness is, it's not something that we were using the phrase yesterday evening. It's not something that's insubstantial. Like there's substance, and then there's insubstantial. Insubstantial is like a reflection or a shadow. So here's a mirror. You can see your face in the mirror. Supposing I turn the mirror, it's gone. There's no real substance in that reflection. The material world, the happiness of the material world is a reflection. There is such a thing as happiness, but it's not the senses, sense objects, and wow. That's not what happiness is. And unhappiness is not, oh, it didn't go right, or I lost my job, or I didn't get a job, or, something. Unhappiness. That's not what unhappiness is. That's the temporary, but it's not what happiness or unhappiness is. It's not in the material field. So if that fundamental understanding is not understood, therefore a major part of the Vedas is to teach knowledge and detachment. Knowledge becomes possible when one does karma yoga properly. In other words, the sequence is from karma yoga, following karma yoga is Gyan yoga. That is, when I'm sufficiently detached, then I'm hearing message of what's beyond the temporary. Gyan, knowledge, as distinct from ignorance or lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge sounds softer. Ignorance is really what it is. It's just ignorance. So, but to get knowledge so it really goes in, not just check the box kind of knowledge, but so it really goes in, there has to be some amount of vairagya. And then detachment that comes from karma yoga. And then I'm eligible for the Upanishads, that portion of the Vedas that doesn't promise sense gratification, the vast portion, the Karmakanda portion, do something to get something. But the purpose of that getting something is I'm looking to the Vedas as the authority that's going to help me get something. And that's what I want. I want to get something. So the Vedas will help me get something in a religious way. Fantastic. I get something, right? Promise me, I'll get something. Yes, you get something. Okay. And then the purpose behind that get something is that's not what real happiness, because the Vedas has that power to deliver one from that expectation. The higher consciousness places where that's not the expectation. So when that expectation subsides, what's left? I want to hear what's in the realm of transcendence is like. Gyan. And that further enhances detachment. But for Gyan or karma yoga to mature, it's the doorway. Either are doorways for bhakti. But how do you get bhakti? You have to have association with someone who's carrying bhakti. That's how bhakti happens. So it doesn't matter what's back there. What I did before I became in association with bhaktas. You can be whatever it is back there. There's things that make it easier. That's nice. And things that make it more difficult, that's not nice, but not so easy, more difficult, can be transcended by the power of bhakti. Because it's powerful. And what's the powerfulness? It's that Krishna should be pleased. In doing the things that dharma, doing the things that my occupational life. And then comes, in the two divisions. Varna and ashram. And then they're directed towards the satisfaction of the Supreme. That's civilized life, according to the picture that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives to Sanatana Goswami, and according to the picture of the Vedas. Civilized life begins, we'll say it the other way, uncivilized life is not acknowledging Varnashram system. Civilized life begins with my occupational duty and my living situation, my social obligations, are in relation to satisfying Vishnu. Before that, it's not human, it's subhuman. Dvipada Pashu. Lots of that going on. So, civilized. And then it's a focus on Vishnu. And more the focus on Vishnu in the association of devotees or in the association of the Bhagavatam, then one can, the light goes on. The real purpose is satisfying Vishnu. Yajnavai Vishnu. The purpose of sacrifice is to satisfy Vishnu. The purpose of life is to satisfy Vishnu. The purpose of my existence as a spirit soul is to satisfy Vishnu. You got your hand up. You want to stop the class? Is that all right? You won't forget, right? You're very enthusiastic back there. I'm sure you won't forget. Maybe I should end. Then you can ask your question.
No question, sorry.
I can continue. Okay. I'm just going to quickly read the translation of the earlier verses from this chapter 2. I'll try to refrain from going into it, but just to give you a picture of verse number 9, preceding verse number 9. Start with verse number 5. O sages, Sutta speaking, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and therefore are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. So right away, very prasiditi, very satisfying to the soul. Then, text 6. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So generally there's some motive, and often it's intermittent. Sometimes not, sometimes. So the satisfaction of the self isn't going to be attained. Something, it's very positive something, but not full satisfaction. Full satisfaction is so special that no contamination can touch it. No bad association, no worldly calamity, nothing can touch it. Text 7. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. That was already mentioned in the purport to 9. And there may be processes for gaining knowledge and processes for gaining detachment. Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga are processes for acquiring knowledge and detachment. However, you don't need those because you engage in devotional service and automatically they arise. Prabhupada's expression, very simple. If you have $1 million, you have $10. You have $100. You don't have to worry about the $10, $100 thing. You just go for the $1 million. So you go for the topmost yoga, and this subordinate yoga systems, they're included. And is it possible to go right to the... Yes, it's possible to go right to the top. How? Association with those that have it. That's the Bhagavatam. And then those that are living to their capacity, living the Bhagavatam's message. That's sadhu sangha. It's quite simple. Text number 8. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality Godhead. So the emphasis, there's de-emphasis on neglect, and there's emphasis on hearing the message of the personality of Godhead, which is the Bhagavatam. It's that, of the compositions of Vyas, the personality of Godhead is there in the Puranas, but not so central and focused. So one who hears regularly the message of transcendence, then they're on the path. They may be not matured yet, that's okay. You're on the path of perfection. And if it's missing that attraction for that hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam and such katha, then you're wasting it's useless labor. Useless labor is compared to it's the fall season now, so it's harvest time. All over the world. So, and when there's harvest, the tradition, it's right there in Canto 10, Chapter 8, Srimad Bhagavatam, where when you're harvesting wheat, there's a system. You cut the wheat, it dries, and then you separate the wheat from the chaff. And one of the ways it's done is a thrashing machine. Now, modern days, it's literally a machine, but without the machinery, there's this rack, and then the workers, the agriculturalists, bundle up the wheat and smash it against this thrashing. It's like a board that has big slats and the grain falls in between. And then what's left is the chaff. So suppose you keep thrashing the chaff. So much useless labor. You get blistered hands. That's your benefit. No benefit because the wheat has been separated. So similarly, so much useless labor if that wheat that fell through the thrashing machine is missing, it's not there, so much useless labor. So what's the wheat? What's the desire? It's the attraction for the messages of transcendence, of the personality of Godhead, and etc. His name, form, qualities, etc. Through sound. The bhakti process begins through sound. Knowledge, education begins through sound. It can be in a book, but it's sound. It's a recorded sound. And then I'll read this verse number 9, and then we're done. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So if you don't use it for sense gratification, then how is it to be used? Coming attractions. Start with verse 10. You're sitting on the edge of your straw mat waiting to hear text 10. And then the whole of the Bhagavatam is unfolding of how to live your life. In real terms, in modern times, in transcendence. Is it possible? Yes. It's not a ploy. It's the purpose of the Bhagavatam is to help people in this age get to transcendence. And even if it's incremental, there's no, it's never lost. And keep going, in good association. Transcendence. A life of whatever your ashram may be, whatever your occupation may be, Krishna is to be pleased. In principle. That's the bhakti principle. Okay, so I'm going to end. Any comments or questions? Our gentleman in the back, you first. Look at this, we've got a microphone for you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You mentioned that substantial happiness is possible and attainable while the material world has unsubstantial happiness, like
Yes,
the
you heard
shadow or
correctly.
the
I said that.
illusion or maya. But how do we, first of all, experience that substantial happiness or even convince our worldly mind that there is a substantial happiness? One, and then two, once we know that, once we are able to convince, then how do we experience that substantial happiness?
Here's Prabhupada's answer to that question. Supposing you're hungry and somebody brings you, going to have prasadam after class. Someone brings you a plate of prasadam and something happens. If you're really hungry, your hunger subsides, strength comes to the body. There's Sanskrit term for these three things, and then you're feeling satisfied. So at a certain point, somebody may say, would you like some more sabji? Would you like some more chapatis? Would you like some more something? And you say, no, I'm satisfied. So you can tell them. They don't need to tell you. You've eaten enough. You can tell them. But why? Because you're satisfied. So how can you experience by involving yourself with eating? So in this world, there's all kinds of subject matters. And people are very engaged in all kinds of subject matters. And a sign that there is the position, there's the experience of satisfaction, is they say, no, thank you. No more. When that stage is reached, you can say, and someone else can evaluate this young man over there, that's, no more, thank you. I'm full. I'm feeling satisfied. It's experienced within, and it's exhibited without, on the outside. It's a sign. It's a sign, a lakshana, a characteristic of spiritual satisfaction is the material affinity diminishes. The dial goes down. When brightness is same, another example. Supposing there's a dimmer switch, and not just the on and off switch, but when the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, darkness is dispelled. So how does it happen? The spiritual samsiddhir haritoshanam. By Hari is pleased. And how do you tell if Hari is pleased? My material affinity is diminishing. And my eagerness for the personality of Godhead being satisfied has magnified. It's already there, but it's asleep. It's dormant. And when that becomes awakened, that's the symptom. And so there's an experience of that symptom. I simply want more and more and more the satisfaction of Hari. I want more and more the topics of Hari. I want more and more the opportunity to render some service to the personality of Godhead and his devotees. That's how, and that's the symptom, both. You want to pursue this a little bit more, I can tell.
Yeah,
I think you clarified it wonderfully, but what I want, so my internal compass should feel the level of contentment and joy, and naturally wanting to go away from the material desire of want and
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In different cultures, in different persons, in different languages, there are different ways that it's expressed, but that's the sign. It happens at the inside level. And when the inside, samsiddhir haritoshanam, or the some suprasidati, because that word is used multiple times. Yen atma suprasidati. Prasana means happiness. Suprasana means great happiness. And atma is at the platform of the soul. So this sound vibration goes directly to the soul. Spiritual sound goes directly to the soul. Okay, that's notional. How do I verify it? Here. Like, eat. Turn up the dimmer switch. And the material affinity subsides, and I'm feeling contentment within. Thank you. Thank you to, when people want you to have more of the material. No, thank you. I'm satisfied. And then that's life. That's spiritual life. So, okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Oh, I got several hands.
Hare Krishna. I hear everywhere that the ultimate goal is to go back to Godhead. Now, you mentioned that I mean, would that be equivalent to doing something and getting something?
Yeah. So back to Godhead may sound like doing something to get something. So what does back to Godhead mean? Back to Godhead doesn't mean I'm over here and I go over there. Back to Godhead is consciousness. One can be back to Godhead in this world, in this lifetime. And then when there's that back to Godhead consciousness, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered in his Shikshastika prayers, Manma Jamani Jamani Shri Bhavatad Bhakti Rahaitaki Toyi. That's back to Godhead. Ahaitaki Bhakti. Unmotivated, just as this verse that we just read, unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service. That's back to Godhead. And then it's not, it's not doing something to get something. It's consciousness. Where I don't need something anymore. Thank you. There's one something. I want service. I want the opportunity to hear. I want the association of devotees. Those are spiritual wants. But the material wants finished. Thank you. No, and that's a high position. But from any ashram and from any varna, that's attainable. Bhakti. Over here. Just hand it to him over here.
Hare Krishna. So my question was regarding the ninth verse that we were discussing, and it said that materialistic gain is, one should not look at materialistic gains when performing their occupational duty.
They're trying to be the enjoyer of the object. Those are two messages. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's say a person who is unaware of their
Higher mission.
and they are let's say he's a capitalist and is in while he's trying to get his material gains, he's also trying to, let's say, help other people's lives get better by creating more jobs or something.
Okay. I want to question the premise. Providing more job for more people. Is that, what is that?
Service.
It's good. In the material, from material vantage point, it's good. More jobs for more people. Very good.
If we believe that there is a super soul within every one of us, and he's maybe helping them grow in their own lives while having more gains for himself, but is he still okay?
Nice try. That's the pardon me, but that's the material lens, and it's not like supposing someone is a pure devotee and they're in they're in the world doing stuff. We because we recently were honoring Bhaktivinoda Thakur on his appearance day. So he was one such person. He was in the world, but not of the world. He did lots of stuff. But it was all with a spiritual purpose and spiritual benefit to anyone that came in contact with him. And those that read his writings and sang his songs, etc., etc. The ultimate well-being was his focus for himself and for others. So it doesn't mean negation of the material. Negation of the material. This is not a negation of the material message. This is spiritualized. So if someone has that objective, what's built into that objective that's going to spiritualize that person's life? And if that's missing, then a transcendentalist says no thank you. No, they can say thank you or say yes if it's very clear to them, and then they live their life accordingly. Here's a couple practical examples. One practical example is medical doctor, medical profession. So I know this individual in the Bhaktivedanta Hospital. His name is Madhavananda. Fantastic gentleman. And, he wanted to help people from his position as a physician. So he and others that were like him, they got together and said, you know what? Let's create a hospital where we're not just dealing with bodies, but we're dealing with consciousness. And they do that in their hospital. So people that go to their hospital not just get the wellness of their body, but they get, some sense of the people that work there, the doctors and the nurses and the staff. They're Krishna conscious people. So there's this benefit to the soul. There's examples and examples of how they do it, but the principle is taking your occupation and bringing spiritual benefit into the lives of people while doing what your occupation says. So if you have that wish, no harm, make sure that you have the spiritual purpose right at the center. And you're fanning that spark, not just the more jobs dimension. Because more jobs doesn't equal contentment. To build it into the objective of occupation. Or it's so much shama eva hi kevalam, so much useless labor. Okay. Yes.
So,
Here's the microphone.
hello. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, you mentioned that whenever anyone do any kind of work, they should be detached from the fruit. Let's say we take an example of a student. Putting into practical scenario, he should focus only on his duty, like study best. Don't expect the good result. Your job is just to do your best to study well. That person may give their best and then get a grade, let's say 80%, in exam.
Okay.
Now, he thought he was giving his best, but
Okay.
now he is going to, his goal will change, that now instead of 80%, now I want to get 90%, maybe something left, I didn't give my best, I will study hard. So if he does not have any attachment to a fruit, like a result, then how can that person, will get a better result? Or how does that person know that he's giving his best? Sometimes in practical scenario, if you are completely detached from the result, then, it's difficult, right?
Sounds like a material dilemma. Is there a spiritual solution to the material dilemma? Yes. What's the spiritual solution to the material dilemma? Have a different yardstick for measuring success. Besides 80%, 90%, or 100%. We have a different yardstick. What's that different yardstick, please? I'm doing this occupational, like my study that leading to occupational for one purpose. Krishna should be pleased. That's the yardstick. So how do I know if Krishna is pleased? That was the first question. My affinity for matter and the objects of matter is subsiding. And my affinity for pleasing Krishna is growing. My affinity for hearing topics. No, I'm busy. I'm studying hard and all those nice things. So, I need to make sure that there's time in my everyday life, every day, because that's yoga is every day. And for the fundamentals of spiritual practice, sadhana bhakti, is right at the very beginning of my day. And it's important to me because it's my life. Now the other is something that's a duty, but let my duty not be devoid of the purpose. And how do I ensure the purpose? Sadhana. In association of devotees, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya. And you cultivate your life with that purpose. And that, so the yardstick is Krishna will be pleased. If I have the Krishna should be pleased purpose, question for you and all of us, is it more likely that I'll perform better if I'm thinking Krishna is to be pleased than if I'm thinking I should get, that 90 instead of an 80%? And then what's going to happen at the heart level, the satisfaction level? Suppose you get 90%. Am I satisfied? Never. There's no such thing. It may look like, but it's not what real satisfaction is. So it's a different yardstick, a different measuring method. It's easy to say, and it's another thing to do. So it takes some time. It's a cultivation process to cultivate bhakti, so that the parameter or the measurements change from material to spiritual. And if one gets to the spiritual, their performance is going to be superlative, because Super Soul is helping them. Because Super Soul is the source of intelligence for the demon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same example, I was thinking maybe we can rephrase it, going back to the same example. When somebody is giving exam, we teach students that it is okay to expect results when somebody is preparing for exams. So results, they would expect good results because they are trying their best. It is about acceptance. So when results come, then you have to expect, acceptance should be there. That is different from detachment.
Well,
once result come,
I
you
disagree.
accept it.
I bluntly disagree. And it's from a spiritual perspective. Supposing, there's so many supposing. Supposing I'm a sincere aspirant of devotion to the Supreme. And my capacity, potential is way up here. But supposing performance-wise, I'm getting results that are way down there, not way up here. Why? Have I failed in my devotional act? Krishna may restrict results purposefully. No, if Krishna restricts results purposefully, it's not to tease or torment or torture, or it's, really what's important to you? The result or your relationship with me? And life can be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be, that's one option. So the essence is the relationship between the servant and the master. And if that is the focus of the aspirant, that's what I want. I want that focus to be at the center. And then, Krishna, you can do with me whatever you like. You can give me the results or not give me the results. I'm going to do this for you. That's my duty. That's me. That's between you and me. There's nothing else. This is for you. And it comes out as a 60% instead of an 80%. You're the dispenser of the result. And the result is our loving relationship, and it can be whatever it is. It's up to you. Now, that's high, but just going back to this modified example, I'm modifying your modified example. No, the spiritual aspirant has a different yardstick. And it's something that's inside. And practical experience is, going back to the supersoul example, supersoul is the source of intelligence. And one is sincerely devoted to the Supreme. That person is going to have maximum intelligence, generally speaking. There may be circumstances where it's not the 90% or the 100%. And that's okay because of the relationship. When that connection is there, I can be very patient because I have confidence in the relationship. My purpose is to satisfy the Supreme. And the measure is not, I get the 80%, 90%. The measure is, my material affinity is diminishing, my spiritual affinity is increasing. And fourth time, my performance is going to be maximized because of that relationship. Krishna doesn't want to torture his sincere devotee. He'll make that sincere devotee superlatively expert in his performance. But because the purpose is that Krishna is to be pleased, not just, the mark in the exam, but life. Krishna is to be pleased, like this example of the hospital people. Working, it's a nice career. I know a number of young people that are just now wrapping up their medical, career. And they're devotees. They have good sadhana, they have a purpose, and they're going to be a superlative physician in the actual execution of, the medical practice and their relationship with the patient, because a big part of patient wellness has to do with their confidence in the doctor. It's just life. It's just how it works. There's scriptural statements. The effectiveness. I should learn this verse, the Sanskrit. According to there are 5 things that are the effectiveness of those 5 things have everything to do with the faith. So the faith in the physician has a big part to do in healing or wellness, along with the skill of the physician. The faith in the physician. I could give examples, but
on the same thing.
This gentleman has the microphone.
Okay.
Sorry. Actually, I'm having 2 questions. The first question is that, as we are working, whatever the working we are, it should not be the material gain, for the material gain. But we are engaged with the family.
Sure.
And it is our responsibility to fulfill our responsibilities in terms of them.
Of course.
And how can we justify those things? That is my first question.
The answer is the same answer. That Krishna should be pleased. Now let's say, others other than human species. They look after their little ones. They don't have to go to school. They look after little ones. It's just built in. Their dependents are their dependents, and they look after them. So then a human being, now we're going up to the human species, and you look after them because you look after them. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's quite natural. But then how to spiritualize that? That's the topic of this particular verse. So thank you for staying on topic. So when material gain comes, when you're able to provide for the necessities for family, etc., who's the enjoyer of that? Who is meant to be the enjoyer of that? Don't put yourself in that position. You're a servant, and there's a master. And the master is to be pleased, and that's the standard. And it takes a while to adjust. You know, a spiritual conception of how you live your life is different. The external may look the same, but the internal is where it differs. Who is to be pleased? You or your family members or the Supreme? Now, it doesn't make that family members are zero or you're zero, but the 10 is Krishna is to be pleased. And when Krishna is pleased, then the rest follows. It's just how spiritual life works. Okay, you're next.
I have one more.
You have one more, okay.
Yeah. Suppose if you are working for others, and ultimately this is the conclusion we can make it from this topic.
Okay,
So rather
fine.
than working for ourselves, we should satisfy others. That's what the conclusion.
Well,
And
that's your conclusion, that's not mine.
No, that's my thought provoking. If we are doing like this, suppose if we are working for some other, because ultimately we are working for their satisfaction. That is what the Lord Supreme's wish.
No. You're putting words in Krishna's mouth.
And the thing is that suppose if we are working like this, and they will, the other people may consider our goodness as an innocence, and they can take the advantage.
Okay, they can let them take advantage.
Okay.
Krishna will protect you.
Okay.
That's a it's a not uncommon experience and a not uncommon excuse. Now, Krishna will protect such a devotee, you and such a devotee. And mean people are going to be mean, even if you are not humble. You can be, with swagger. You move here and there with swagger. You're a proud person. You're accomplished and proud person. You're not protected by people who are envious. Some people may be envious and try to take advantage of a humble servant of the Supreme Master. That's okay. They're only hurting themselves. They're not hurting you, because you're protected by the Supreme. And in the long run, the truth prevails. It's just, if one doesn't have faith in light, then you're going to stay in darkness. So go to the light.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, in occupational thing, it's a question about occupational thing. We were talking about a Bhakti Vedanta hospital.
That gave that as an example. I can give some other examples.
Yes. So, I want to kind of, I'm a physician by profession.
Oh, good.
So I want to incorporate that into my regular practice. We were talking about it not just when the patient go there,
Yes.
get physical wellness,
Yes.
also spiritual essence.
Yes.
So how do we incorporate that in our regular practice?
Fantastic question. So it's not like you have to go join the Bhaktivedanta hospital, otherwise you
Right.
strike out.
Right.
That's not the answer.
No, that's not.
I understand. I understand that's not your question. I'm
Yes.
just adding to your statement.
Yes.
So now how do I'm just doing practice over here, and how can I incorporate this? It's how do you live your life? Because it's not only in medicine or a physician. It's if you're carrying bhakti is going to be transmitted because you're carrying bhakti. Mm-hmm. So you're a physician, and you're not going to teach the patient, Bhagavad Gita verses or something like that. But your demeanor, your devotion to the personality of Godhead purpose will be communicated by your character, by your speech, by your whole being. And then at some point in time, people will start to have some affinity for you and what you represent. And then they may ask, I've had this happen. I've had what's with you? You're different. And then you titrate little by little by little, like, well, I'm glad you asked. Here's your, let's sit down and I'll give you a Bhagavad Gita class for half an hour. But, something simple. Super Soul will give you the intelligence how to say or how to interact or how to conduct yourself where you're not overwhelming them, but you're being a lover of Krishna, a devotee of Krishna. And that's contagious. It's like a virus. You can spread a virus by carrying the virus. You can spread bhakti by carrying bhakti. It's contagious in a good sense. You can infect people with bhakti by your demeanor. And then you hire people that are like-minded, that have to be sadhakas, but, people that are going to convey the same values that you hold by their speech and their behavior. And it's just, you build that, and you live your life that way. The staff with whom you work, and so forth and so on. And then what's inside, and then because every day you're doing your devotional practices, your sadhana bhakti, that gives spiritual strength to you, and it can communicate it. And people see it, they feel it. And then you're not just a physician, that a good physician. I'll just give one example, because just yesterday, a conversation with a devotee family that I know from Boston, and they went all the way to New Jersey to have a whatever you call it, consultation with an Ayurvedic physician that I've known for like 30 years. And I asked, how did it go? So they started with pulse reading, and the doctor is the mother of her son. When I first met her, she was pregnant. She told them her son is now a medical doctor. She was a medical doctor that became an Ayurvedic doctor in addition to a medical doctor. So she knows both fields. And for those many years, she is giving bhakti. She's a good physician. She knows Ayurvedic and allopathic medicine, both, very, very, very well. She's a gifted person. She's a gifted person. But she's giving bhakti to people in her own way. For people, she has a little stack of books, and she gives, when she thinks it's the right person, she gives them a book. And her demeanor if there's some, so you'll figure out a way. Super Soul will give you the intelligence how you can convey yourself in a devotional way without overwhelming people. It just comes along with the lifestyle of being a devotee. So she told them, by the way, when she was pregnant, she developed some attraction for Krishna Bhakti, so she named her son Krishna. And now Krishna is a medical doctor over all these years. Okay.
One more question.
Yeah, sure.
Where is this Bhakti Vedanta hospital located? Is there an opportunity?
Bombay.
Okay. Is there opportunity for all of us to go and observe?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
They're very open.
Mm-hmm.
What to speak of your medical practitioner, but they're very open. And you don't need me to do a knock on the door of Madhavananda, the director of the hospital, because he's just such a person. You can name drop. You can say, Prabhupada Swami recommended that I visit your place. So, the door will open even if you don't say that. They're very warm. Let me see if there's somebody else in the room, because there's our first questioner. He's very enthusiastic again. Yeah, right behind you.
Prabhuji, there's one thing that I'm struggling with. While we were not connected with ISKCON, my daughter, we used to give her egg to eat. Now, after
Your
getting,
daughter used to do what?
we used to give her egg to eat, boiled egg.
Okay.
Now, after connecting with ISKCON, we have stopped giving her boiled egg.
Okay, good.
But whenever she sees someone eating, she always questions us. We have tried our best to, answer her in all different ways we could, but we always fail to answer her questions to the point where she can understand why not to eat egg. Is there an answer that you can help us with, which we can convey to her? She's 6 years old.
6.
Yep.
If she was a little bit older, I've heard some ladies give the following answer. Women have a menstrual period. Do you think it's a good idea to eat the menstruation of a woman? Because that's what eggs are. No, that's, somebody that's a little older than 6. They may understand that better than somebody that's 6. The principle, depends on your 6-year-old. But in principle, we're responsible for our food choices. What we eat is, who you are is what you eat. What you eat is who you are. Who was the one that said that one? You are what you eat. There's some fellow. Do you know the name? You are what you eat. So, okay. So a choice in our food choices is we want that which is connected to Krishna, to the Supreme. And he gives a clear set of guidelines of what is offerable, what you can offer. And we offer things that are in the quality of goodness, and this isn't in that quality of goodness. So there's probably some medical, but a 6-year-old isn't going to necessarily understand the medical. Or, it's a food choice matter. We want to take that which has been offered to Krishna, and it's not an item that we can offer, so we don't offer it. Why not? The mode of goodness food. It's not a mode of goodness food. Well, how do you know that? From Scripture. We follow what the Scripture says. I like eggs. So we don't follow what the tongue says. We follow what the Scripture says. Now, I don't know your daughter, so I can't. When we break, I'll do a little research and see if I can get an answer that a 6-year-old girl might understand better than what I just said. Because I'm not used to convincing 6-year-olds about food choices. Okay, I think we should end. You want to? Oh, you have a question. Go ahead, and then we'll do your last. You get the last question, first and last question.
Thank you, Maharaj, for that beautiful class. You mentioned that more than reading the Bhagavatam, it is taking the message of the Bhagavatam and living by the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
That seems a little tricky because it requires a lot of self-examination to see am I really living.
That's life. Welcome.
How can we do such self-examination to see if we're living the message of the Bhagavatam?
Well, few things. One is you have good teachers, and they'll help you evaluate. Another is practice over time. If you practice over time, then there's the refinement that comes from practice over time. And what I can't see today, 3 years from now, I may be able to see better because of purification and having lived the life of the Bhagavatam to my capacity in association of devotees. Then a third is just humility. Humility meaning I'm tiny. And I'm quite in my tininess. I'm quite fallible. So, like our great personalities, Rupa Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other great personalities, they don't have a high estimation of themselves. They have a very, not like low self-esteem. They just don't think very highly of themselves, and they're striving. And so we can take example from their striving to receive the Krishna's mercy so that they can accomplish what they're meant to accomplish. A nice example, because this coming Sunday, I'm going to be in Boston. And in Boston, there's going to be a big festival with, the anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's arrival in Boston, the Commonwealth, and then, so I invite you to, and anyone here, to read the prayer to Krishna that Prabhupada wrote when he arrived at the Boston Harbor. And it's so humble. It's like embarrassing. How humble. And here he is, a world acharya in the making, and it's complete, mission impossible. How are these people going to understand? But you brought me here for some reason. So if you like, I'm incapable. I'm expression of humility after expression of humility. But if you like, then please help give me the strength so that the people that I have to communicate the message of transcendence to this place of darkness and ignorance, they'll be able to understand it. So, abject humility and calling up for mercy, it is the life of one who is going to be able to progress and be able to be an instrument of divinity in this world. And it's not an easy task. So we require humility and purity and mercy. You know the prayer that I'm speaking about? This prayer that Prabhupada wrote? So could you make a copy, make it into a PDF, and circulate it into the...
I can read. I have it open if you want, please. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. I'm just like a puppet in your hands. You have brought me here, and now you can make me dance as you like.
Yeah, it's much longer. So the whole thing, just PDF and circulate it.